evening. Yeah, like it's good evening and it's daylight out. It's nice. Okay, I want to call to order the Administration and Budget Committee on March 13th, 2025, at 5:40 p.m. I'll roll.
Director Chapman,
I'm present.
Director Alexander,
I'm present also.
Director Gill.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right, this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring to address the committee and any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody wishing to speak?
If there are any members of the public who are joining us via Zoom, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand. I believe you can hit *6 to raise your hand. There it is.
Okay. Being none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. We'll entertain a motion.
Through the chair, we have 2 sets of minutes tonight, one from November from our previous regular meeting and then the
Okay.
special meeting in January.
Okay, and you want to do 2 separate motions?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. Who wants to do the first motion?
Make a motion to approve the November minutes.
I'll do second.
Okay, second?
I'll do second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the minutes by Director Alexander with a second by Director Gill. Go ahead.
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Gill.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Now we have the minutes of January 23rd, 2025.
So then I'll move the motion.
Second.
All right. So motion to approve the minutes from January 23rd, 2025, moved by Director Gill and a second by Director Alexander. Let's call roll.
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Gill.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we are moving on to committee business, which is to review the at-large application process for the Citizens Advisory Committee and provide feedback to staff on improved protocols. Carolyn.
All right, thank you, committee members. I'm Caroline Hernandez, clerk of the board. Talking to the mic. So for as long as I've been here at the authority, which is close to 6 years now, we've had kind of the same process for reviewing our at-large CAC applications. And so tonight's presentation will have us looking at our current process for screening at-large applications and see what opportunities we might have to refresh the process and make it smoother for our ABC members and as well as for our applicants. So tonight's recommendation is to review our current process and create a standardized protocol for interviewing and recommending applicants to the full board. And so before we get into the details of this, I wanted to pose a question to the committee. Some of you have served on the CAC prior to being on the board. So thinking about your own experience, what qualities should CAC members embody? And then to kind of help you visualize, think about the neighborhoods you live in, what your district looks like. Is there open space in those districts? And then just kind of thinking out loud, I would invite you to maybe throw out your 1 or 2 thoughts, and I can capture them.
Okay, the question is that, can you first differentiate between the district, like the board members, and at large? What is their responsibilities?
District representatives versus at-large representatives is your question. So district representatives will live within the boundaries of that particular district. So for District 7, they would live as defined by our demographics, our redistricting, our districting map on our webpage. So somebody would live within those boundaries, and protocol for appointing district representatives is slightly different. It would be someone that's recommended to the director, and then the director would make that nomination to the full board. So there's one less step than being an at-large member. So that's different. At-large members can live anywhere within the district, within the jurisdiction in any district. And we ask for their qualifications to bring a representation, representative interests to the CAC. So maybe something specific like agriculture or business development or real estate.
Do we have that kind of, we categorize that? The
Yes.
at-large has, this is agriculture, this is some sort of any other like the urban or those kind of things. Did
Yeah.
we just this? That's the actually my main question is that.
Yes, and
The
we'll
district, I knew that. So another question is to you for the district. For example, I'm on District 8, but I
7.
have District 7. The city and district. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm just,
There too. District 4, yeah.
okay, so the question is that if I have, like, I have to be recommended, right? Any kind of CAC member from my district.
Mhm.
But if there are 5 members are interested, then it's very hard for me to be just select one. So what is the criteria for that?
Exactly. So, and we'll kind of, we'll peel back the layers on how we can go through that process through the presentation. So thank you. And I will address those questions.
So, quick question.
Yes.
I'm trying in my mind, going back to remembering the last at-large members that we've appointed. Are we keeping track of what districts they're from?
Yes. Mhm.
Because in my mind, I'm thinking like my district, I don't know if there's too many at-large members, I think. So I think it's a little, can't say this nicely. There's a lot of representation from the
Mhm.
southern portion. I'm a little concerned that the northern portion of the district doesn't have as much representation.
Okay.
Not that it's a bad thing, but I just noticed lately, everybody seems to be coming from the south.
Yeah, that's great.
I think in part because that's where a lot of the trails are, and so that's where the visibility is.
And that's why I'm asking if how many at-large we have.
There's 8 at-large seats on the CAC.
So then, so we already has like agricultures or trails or those kind of, we specified that, or anybody can apply for any?
Anybody can apply. Those are some of the criteria that we have listed in the handbook. Oh, well, okay. Well, let me, will you? Yes, so,
I think it's the next part there.
good segue. Our handbook lists these items as the criteria. So the candidate shall reside in the authority's jurisdictional boundaries. So we got that checked off. The persons to be selected shall have an interest in developing, implementing, and furthering an open space program within the jurisdictional boundaries. Candidates who apply to fill one of the 8 at-large positions may demonstrate general knowledge of and involvement in the activities of priority interest that support the board's focus for the CAC. And those include, but are not limited to, agriculture, business, civic organizations, development, community, parks, public health, safety, and/or trails. And the board may consider additional areas of expertise based on the current and near-term focus of the CAC.
That's why I'm asking if all the time, like the 8 guys has only one, we just hire them. Actually, they have only one field of expertise. Then how you can justify all the 8 people is just only one. So we need to be, whenever you guys hire somebody, you have to be specify that, or we need the at-large person on agriculture, or we need on trails. So then we have to be look at that, which one we so that people can apply that one.
Okay.
So at least we have the variety of people there, right?
Mhm.
That's
And
my understanding.
And I would argue that actually, I think we are as over the course of the last couple of years, at least that I've been here, I feel like we've been getting a little bit more exposure in terms of who knows who we are. Like people know who we are now. They access our trails, they utilize our trails, and they're coming to us from their field of interest, like nursing or tech, or we have some retirees, but and then folks like Justin and Aaron who do represent agriculture. So I think like looking at the cumulative CAC, we are getting to a place where we have good representation of different fields. I would argue that, but we can improve this process by making sure that those people maybe reside in District 2 or District 3 in the northern parts of the city. So
Because we don't do any kind of geographic mapping or, looking at the district itself. It's more like you're just, somebody applies and they fit the qualifications.
mhm. Yes. And okay, so I'll continue on.
I think the way she's telling me is really good. We have the 8 peoples, right?
Mhm,
We can divide into 8 different districts.
mhm.
So might
Oh.
be I'm talking about then
Well-
the person can come from. That's the one you are telling, because in the north side there is nobody representing. So if you have the at large mean is come from anywhere.
At large can be from, yeah.
Anywhere, so,
Mhm.
yeah, so that's, we cannot just compel people just come from District 2 or with District 3, they can.
Mhm, mhm. Okay.
Right, and if they're involved in agriculture, they're likely to be from. South-
Southern
South
County.
County.
Mhm. Okay, so here's a quick look at our application. The top part just introduces the CAC and the CAC scope of work to a potential applicant. We capture their names, their address, and their contact information. And based off of the address, staff would verify, obviously, they do the initial screening to make sure that the applicant does live within the jurisdiction. And then we have these 3 questions. Next slide. So you could actually see it. So their first question, what specific knowledge of people or organizations and or activities within the authority's jurisdiction would you bring to the CAC? So what from, agriculture, the business community, like, we would hope that they would elaborate on their area of expertise, their field of interest, their passions, what experience related to, business and agriculture. So this one relates a little bit more. And then how do you keep yourself alert to trends, issues, and needs that are expressed by the agricultural community and the public as related to open space? So it kind of relates back to those qualifications in 3 questions.
That's the qualification.
The qualifications were, can you go back 2 slides?
I have the sheet, you just. No, I mean,
One more.
this is the one.
Yeah. Yes. Mhm.
But whenever you put the qualification, so what is your meaning, why the qualification?
So that's the position.
Of the qualification, need any kind of education?
Nothing, we don't have any minimum criteria like that, other than they have to live within the jurisdictional boundaries. Everything else is kind of like subjective.
What do you think, we don't need any education for the minimum high school or something, or those kind of things?
Well, we want to, I think, so our enabling act and our board operating rules and procedures say that the idea of the Citizens Advisory Committee is to have citizens that represent the diversity that look like the communities that we are serving.
So when you are saying diversity, so why you don't just say nice to have bilinguals and it's not a mandatory, but it's not a mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
So in that way, might be the people can just speak more than one language. English is compulsory anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but they can come with another language also, they can apply.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a mandatory.
Right.
English
No.
is a mandatory, right?
I
What
wouldn't.
kind of, I'm just thinking.
And actually, we have a section, I have my final slide is kind of for
Oh.
brainstorming.
We're
I know.
Shall we hold questions until the end of the?
It-
presentation?
that would-
I do have a question.
Sure.
Are we trying to solve a problem, or is this just you know, however many year review? Is there?
Yes, so that's great. We don't have an annual review process. We don't have that built into the system. So I think for one, it's probably a good idea to look at some of the things that the application, the criteria, the qualifications. We have an opportunity to improve those things to get the information that we want to know. So these supplementary questions like we don't ask them right now, but maybe we can. So what I wanted to do was just kind of present everything that we are doing right now, look at examples of what other agencies are doing, because I think those applications were interesting. And then we can brainstorm about which pieces, which components that we want to take or improve or fix. So not necessarily that we have a problem, but we want to be able to come at, if we did have an issue, that we have a process in place that we can lean against in order to, to pick applicants that we want with those qualities that we're seeking. Okay. One more. Okay. Pardon me. Okay, so I wanted to examine a few examples of what other agency applications look like to kind of continue, get ideas from. These, it's a little hard to see, but we have Santa Clara County and the County of San Francisco for their commissions, their task force. I selected these two in particular because they were actually easy to find, easy to navigate to. So we'll start with Santa Clara County. Both of these agencies continuously accept applications all through the year. So they have these applications available on their website all year round. This one from the county is a nice fillable form. It's actually Granicus, one meeting, so that's something to consider. But they start with having some basic information about you need to be a resident. They hold the applications for up to 2 years. If there are no current vacancies, you have to have a valid email, and then just some other information. So they'll collect the email address. They want you to select which board or commission that you're interested in. Are you currently a member? So yes or no. An organization or affiliation, if applicable. So are you affiliated with a different organization? So another neighborhood organization, another nonprofit. Why do you want to become a member? So that's kind of a basic question. Like why are you even interested in being a member of this committee or commission? Qualifications, list your qualifications, both professional and personal.
That's the one I'm asking.
Yes, yeah. So that they have that one here. Are there any interests or activities that you wish to bring to the attention of the Board of Supervisors, which I think is also interesting? In what ways will you ensure that the work stemming out of your appointment will support racial and social equity? Do you have any obligations that might affect your attendance at scheduled meetings? Also an interesting question. And the space is provided for you to add any additional information. And then they capture the references and then how you learned about the vacancy. And then you submit and the clerk of the board will contact you. So pretty easy. We'll look at the City and County of San Francisco. also available on their website. I think they're also accepting applications for their committees all year round. They have a long list of information on the front. And I thought this one was interesting. What's that? They have both of these. So the county has, I don't know, 20 plus commissions. Same with the city and county of San Francisco. So I think for certain positions, certain commissions, yes, you do have to file Form 700. And this one, I wanted to highlight that the Rules Committee may schedule your application for review. So applicants should expect to appear before the Rules Committee to speak to their qualifications. So they list that in their application. And here's theirs, a fillable PDF, which is also very nice. Then pick the name, your personal information. Are you a resident? Obviously 18 years or older. So the first question on their application is please state how your qualifications represent the communities of interest, neighborhoods, and the diversity and ethnicity, race, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, types of disabilities, and any other relevant demographic qualities of the city and county of San Francisco. So that's their first question right off the bat. It's like, how do you represent your community? And then the other ones are very simple, business or professional experience, and then their civic activities. And then they also ask, have you attended any meetings of the body to which you're applying? And then you just sign and send it in. And so those are 2 counties. I also in my research found out Mid-Peninsula Open Space District, they don't have a CAC. They don't have anything comparable to like our CAC, but they do have a bond oversight committee. So their their process for screening applications is accepting applications. Staff do the screening against the board selection guidelines. So it outlines the qualifications and the criteria that the board have already established. Would you mind getting my water, please? Staff present their findings to the board at the next regular meeting. So their clerk of the board will let them know the applicants who have submitted applications. They have, and I'll add that they have a specific period of time where they're taking applications for a vacancy. Thank you. The board confirms the list of candidates, and then staff schedule a special meeting of the board for interviews. And so the candidates are invited, and then the board will interview them at a special meeting. And then the board determines who will ask the interview questions, and each board member ranks each candidate based on their response. Staff tally those rankings, highlighting the top candidates, and they present the results at the next regular board meeting. The board then discusses and reaches a consensus on the final selection, and then the appointment is formally made at the next board meeting. So they have a little bit of a longer process, but it is a little bit more rigorous. So that being said, currently our process is mostly facilitated through our website. So any interested applicant would come to our CAC webpage. They'd get the information about the committee. They could read on the handbook. They could look at current members. And then here, if we did have a vacancy, they would see it here. However, we are always accepting applications, so we don't have anything that specifies an application deadline. They can read about the position. And then we have the district rep description versus the at-large position. That's what I printed out for you guys. And then the application is here. And so they would fill out the application. They would either email it, fax it, or mail it in to the office. I take it and then I schedule it for our ABC, ABC to review. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So now, all that being said, I would like to invite your thoughts, your feedback, specifically on these four things. So the criteria on the position description, our application questions, the three questions, what even the application is asking for in comparison to the examples that we saw. And then the interview process. Should we have specific interview questions with a numerical value assigned to each one of these questions based on how they respond? And so, and this is also, I wanted to highlight that, especially for the interview process, we had a situation where we had two extremely qualified candidates, and how do we measure two qualified candidates against one another? And so there's the questions on the application, but what and then thinking back to that question about what do we want our CAC members to embody? What next level of questions can we ask them that we can glean those things, like, do you speak another language? What areas of interest culturally are you interested in? And then all these things can potentially get a ranking. And then it's a little bit more standardized across the board.
First of all, when staff has that ability to look at all the applications, if it's more than one,
Mm-hmm.
and then look at against your JD, whatever the job description you have that,
Mm-hmm.
look at that, who aligned for that. So you can select from there one or two candidates, which is very close to the JDs. Okay, so that's very important. If anybody's like 5 candidates is just apply for that and bring all the candidate in front of the board, then it's very hard. It's
Yes.
waste of time. First, you have the filters there
Mm-hmm.
against your requirements. For example, if it's agriculture,
Yes.
so you can look at that the candidate has really agriculture's experience, or if somebody don't have that one, then you can reject there.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe 1 or 2 has that, then the board ask a few questions. We have to be assigned. That's my understanding. The way when I was working in the big private company,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so then this is the way we are doing there.
Okay.
So hiring manager has only 1 or 2 persons come down there to ask the questions,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can judge that which one is the best candidate for the job we are just need to be filled out.
Okay.
So I think this is the best way, but I can just ask the other my colleagues so what they are thinking about that.
Okay, so just to kind of reiterate what you said, so have use our qualifications, but kind of list it out in like a filter. So agriculture, yes or no. Business development, yes or no. Something
Yeah,
like that.
Whoever is very close to
Mm-hmm.
aligned with the description,
Okay.
job description.
Mm-hmm.
So if, for example, I don't know about anything about agriculture, I don't know about the trails, even though I said, I'm just going, just want to be just fill out the position. If you don't have anybody's apply for that, definitely we don't have any choice. If we have more candidates,
Mm-hmm.
and then the best qualified candidate, we have to be need that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then keep the other candidates application might be 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So then if we need in future, then we can just call them. So instead of they are filling the application again and again, so you can send them also. If we have any position, nobody applied that, you can call those people. So your application in our database. Are you still interested on this position? And then you tell them we don't need to be fill out the application unless you have your updated resume or something.
Sure, sure. And then in this initial like screening filter, district, having like knowing what district they live in is important too, right? Would you?
Yeah.
Would you,
I
okay.
think that's a, you know,
Mhm.
so you kind of get an idea.
Okay.
Through the chair, if I, sorry, can ask a question of Dr. Gill to your comment, sorry, and for the record, Elizabeth Loretto, Administrative Operations Manager. Right now, to be clear, our 8 at-large can come from any of those backgrounds. Before, I believe even when you were on the CAC, we did have like a dedicated agriculture seat, and we had a dedicated parks and trails seat. But now everybody is at large with kind of whatever of those special interest areas are available. So I wanted, the way you were phrasing your question made me think that you were envisioning us having, again, those dedicated seats. And so I wanted to just clarify, was that what you were thinking, or were you just more broadly that we
No,
would call out the experience?
Either way, you can think maybe my main question is that because for example, I came as a board member
Right,
from tech industry, right? Even though I just born in the agriculture's farm family and then work in the agriculture, I knew that I know more than anybody else is in this valley how the agriculture is work. That's a different story. For example, somebody is just come from the tech industry, they don't know anything, but they want to be the part of our CAC, right?
Mhm.
So then you have another person, they have agriculture experience, they have the trail experience, they work many years there. So then we have to be looked at against those. It's a broad question. It's not I'm saying just the agriculture only. If they have any kind of experience other than against the other candidate, then we have to be filtered there.
Yeah.
That's my actually question. I
Okay.
mean comments.
thank you.
Do you understand or you need more clarification?
No, I
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
I just, like I said, I wanted to make sure we were, you weren't recommending that we were.
But
went back
actually,
to
I love if we have the
Defined,
eight district like the before that CAC has that agriculture different and at large guys, and then those kind actually is you can find the more you can say and the experienced guy on that field.
yeah.
But if we just not doing those kind of things that at large come from any kind of background within our JD, then that's fine. I don't
Yeah.
mind it.
Yeah, just for reference, and but when we had those, we found that they were hard to fill, right? So by going at large has helped us keep our CAC membership level kind of at the level of contribution we're looking for overall, so.
Do we have, I think we have a pretty good CAC right now, right?
Mhm.
Pretty diverse
Yes.
and very involved.
Mhm.
And I think what happened with the most recent applications where we really did have 2 very good candidates, and I would still like to see both of them on the CAC,
Mhm.
maybe more so than some of the candidates that are, or some of the people that are currently on the CAC. They just seem like they would be a great fit. So, not that we don't have wonderful members right now, but these, we were talking about, is there some way that both of these could be on there? So I don't know, do our current questions, are they filtering people to come up with good members, or do you see a need for additional questions to help us do that?
I think through the chair that in particular, for example, Beth Fricksdale, we got a publication in the Mercury News. It was like an advertisement saying that our agency was looking for volunteers to fill vacancy on the committee. So that was a really fortuitous kind of advertisement for the CAC, and that's how we found her. So I think in terms of exposure, like getting the word out in that kind of a way that's broader, that's far reaching than just maybe posting flyers up on our trails. I think it's also like we kind of lucked out, so to speak, with that with her in particular, because she did see that that advertisement. So I think our marketing probably has a big component in it too.
And how did the other candidate learn about the position?
That I'm not sure, actually.
Yeah, I don't remember that
Mhm.
either.
I can answer that one.
Okay.
I asked her.
So, right, so word of mouth, and that's
Word of mouth,
perfectly,
word of mouth.
yeah, perfectly acceptable. And that's exactly what we would hope that our board members and our other CAC members are doing as well. So getting that word out to the right people is also, I think, a critical component of getting interesting, compelling candidates.
And I remember when Lauren was applying for my district seat, he had seen a flyer because he's a
Yeah.
trails person.
Yeah.
And so,
So it's a wide net that we have to cast out. And that's, not to say that the flyers don't work, because obviously they do. But yeah, it's just, we have to be creative in our marketing as well.
So this piqued my interest because I got an email a while back, and I don't always get interesting emails. So I had James Eggers reach out to me, and I think I shared this one with you a while back, but it goes back. And he ran to something about the CAC application, and it noted that we were stating qualification and priorities for business and development, but not for environment and conservation.
Yes, I know who you're.
Thing that came up about that. So I think that those are two key things that might be worth including in there, because again, environment and conservation are two of our benchmarks.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let me actually ask again, the two candidates, the last time we have at large position, right?
Yes.
So if you look at those two candidates, their educations, their experience, their knowledge. So do you think we can distinguish the person who is more aligned with the at-large position? If you look at those two, just those two, who was the right candidate for that?
Oh, and
As just for the filter there, I'm asking whenever you get the application, so you have to be put the filter there. Who is more qualified and more closer to the whatever the job description we have that. So we can easily, even though we pick the right person, that's no doubt. But I'm just asking to do, you still remember that, right?
For staff to filter, for staff to do the filtering.
Only on those two.
For staff to make the recommendation. Well, and
the candidate.
my concern with that would be, it's not for staff to take that discretion away from the committee. That's exactly what one of the purview of your committee is, to review these candidates. And if somebody was clearly, they didn't live in the jurisdiction, or maybe, if we would filter out the very basic, I make sure that they live in the jurisdiction. If that didn't happen, we would filter out that application. So, but everything else, the other qualifications are so subjective, to an extent, that it would be more appropriate for the committee, I think, to make that judgment call.
And I think it would be one thing if we had like 20 applicants or 40 applicants or something, then it might be helpful. But I think it was great that we had both of them come to the meeting and both of them were able to speak, because we realized we would like both of these people on the CAC.
Sure.
So how can we make that happen? If not immediately down the road. So I think it was great that we were exposed to both of them.
I did like that they both came in person, so we had an opportunity to for them to share. So having that in-person interview, I think is important because then you get a feel for the person, for their personality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm harking back to a time where we had somebody apply and it didn't go well. Because he had other, he was looking at more for as a stepping stone for running for another office. And that it was helpful again to be able to see the person in person, ask questions because you
Sure.
can get a feel for their intent.
Mm-hmm.
But in looking at the other application, both of them kind of had something that talked about the diversity and the equity, which is going back to Jediah work. So how is there ways that we can embed some of that into, because I have had comments raised to me by another board member that sometimes
There it
I
is.
said this nicely, that we should be looking at diversity with a little bit more of an open lens, because I know what I'm getting around, and we can all just not say it, okay.
And that is, completely called out in our enabling act that the CAC should represent our communities ethnically and
Correct, and I
in
think,
diversity.
that's something, that's a lens that we really maybe need to elevate a little bit. So that it, it does, we are making that effort so that somebody coming in and looking at the body sees that it is diverse.
And to be clear, these are volunteer appointments, right? So the rules that we as a public agency have to abide by in applying the Jediah lens to hiring practices for staff do not apply in this case. So you do have that discretion, and I appreciate the feedback on the questions like that San Francisco asks or the county asks as great examples of how could we broach that, because this is something, like Caroline says, we actually are I think quite fortunate that our own handbook says
Mhm.
that is part of the discretionary lens that we are evaluating CAC applicants through.
Right, you're getting that applicant to talk about what they would bring that would enhance the diversity.
And to Dr. Gill's point earlier too, if language, some bilingual skill set of a particular language was something that the board assessed was a need based on the current demographics of the Citizens Advisory Committee, that is something that could be inquired about here in a different way than we would via employment. And so while I still have the mic, I also want to say, Dr. Gill, to your analogy, the ABC is the hiring manager.
No. No, I'm just saying, no, okay, let me tell you something, no matter is a paid position or is a volunteer position. So when you are very cheap, so then people don't just think this is a real agency. So I want to make a little bit complicated the process. We are just thinking not only today. Today we have only 2 candidates, right? I'm thinking maybe next time has 10 candidates. I'm thinking a little bit positive side, agencies going in the right direction. So then you have to be, because right now we are here to make the update the applications, right? The process and everything.
I think this is a good opportunity to do that, yes.
So that's my concern is that I'm not thinking, oh, today nobody knows what is the Open Space Authority, and then nobody is applying that. Maybe tomorrow, like if you look at the city of San Jose, the board commissions, so there are many applicants are there coming to be applied. Those are volunteer position too. So we want our agency on that level.
Sure.
So if we just advertise in a proper way, then definitely more than whatever we are getting the applicant, we can get more than that. So we have to be think like the 5 year ahead. So that's my plan. I'm not saying we don't need the people, even the 5 candidates come there, it's okay. So we can look at that, we can board can interview all 5, but it's a little bit harder. If we have the filter at the very first, then we can look at the more closer and fit for the job, then it's easier. Like last time, if both candidates come, let me give you the example. both candidates come, they speak, then it's a little bit harder for the board because those are both are qualified, right? One really has the education against whatever the agricultures or those kind of, the one candidate has administration's responsibilities or the experience.
Mhm.
Then it's a very hard to be pick one. So if we just filter at the very, even same thing is happen when we have the open admin and budget committee. That's why we said, oh, both candidates here, and then we cannot make the decision. We don't want to be hurt somebody's feeling, right? We don't have, actually agency don't have many candidates. That's why we can, if we have the candidate, definitely we can tell them, hey, we just hire this one
Mhm.
strongly. So that's what I'm thinking on a different way than my other colleague is thinking on that. That's my own opinion, my own personal opinion. It's not like should be in that way. I just give my opinion and then the way I'm thinking.
You think it was an anomaly that we got two very well qualified
Yeah.
candidates? It's probably not the norm, right?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Historically, we've had these vacant positions open for a long time.
Okay.
So it just was kind of
Anomaly.
it was an anomaly that we got these two really great applicants at the same time. But if that's how it's going to trend, then
Right,
Mhm.
but you know, and I think it's a great problem to have, and it
Yes.
was a difficult, you know, being able to manage that and how to work it out, and I'm hoping the candidate didn't make it, will then be in the queue to, you know, for the open position, so that person will be on the CAC, so then it does work out. But we got two very well qualified candidates that want to serve and that are, you know, it's a great problem to have versus, like you said, there's probably some members on the CAC that, you know. Yes, Lee's trying to say something.
Chair, if I could add something, a couple of things. I don't know that it's an anomaly that we got two well-qualified candidates. As we were discussing earlier, the agency is becoming more well-known.
Okay,
We hope to be more actively recruiting CAC candidates, right? And folks to support the agency in multiple ways. I hope we always have this challenge, right, where we have multiple candidates. And I guess the underlying question is, are we as staff, do we have a process that serves you to find, through this screening process, the best candidates for what we need on the CAC? You know, I think of one of my previous employers, it was always, you know, the right person in the right seat at the right time. That's one of the reasons why we did away with the specific seats on the CAC. We made them at-large positions so that the board had some flexibility. If we were going to make a huge investment in agriculture, for example, it's the one that's come up a few times tonight. Maybe we want 3 people on the CAC with agriculture experience and not just one, but this was to give the board more discretion in how they populated this CAC, because it really is your decision. And while we can screen and present more information, we want to make sure that we're making it as easy and transparent for you to make those decisions. So it's also, even if we don't have multiple candidates, I think it's a great way to get to know folks that we're asking to really step up and serve the agency, right? It might be your only chance to have a real conversation, and that's where we were hoping to maybe come up with some questions or a process where you felt really good in getting the information you needed before someone is seated as a CAC member. And maybe we're meeting your, you know, what you want, and that's fabulous. But I think that's the underlying question.
I think I looked to see if I could find earlier, to see if I could find any CAC applications rather than just the, you know, general ones for cities. And there was one with Hayward Rec. And I liked their first question. Please explain why you wish to be appointed to the Citizens Advisory Committee. because that kind of gets to what you were referring about earlier. And I don't know how important it is, but I had even wondered if we might want to ask if they'd ever attended either a board meeting or a CAC meeting, or to put on the application, we encourage you to attend a board meeting or a CAC meeting if you haven't, so that you can learn more about the agency. So
Mhm.
that might be a way to have more of a dialogue. And if they take the interest in doing that, then that's something that would come out when we're interviewing them.
Okay. And I do, there is someone joining us via Zoom who would like to speak.
Okay.
Let me.
Deputy.
Good evening, committee members. This is Doug Muirhead, Morgan Hill resident.
Hello.
I would like to suggest that if you're trying to have the CAC do some things for you, that you think about trying to gauge the strengths and weaknesses of the CAC members themselves by having them do some sort of self-assessment. Because they think they're helping in certain ways based on who they are and their backgrounds. But I'm not sure that you necessarily are getting them doing what you want them to do. Just a random thought. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Muirhead. Don't periodically check in with CAC members, so no.
No, there's no evaluations other than
Do they don't reapply?
they do reapply. So
They do fill out a qualification, I mean, do they fill out a qualification or?
no. So about 2 years ago, the CAC members formed a subcommittee to reevaluate how reappointments were done, because there was some thought that the process was too stringent for current CAC members who were who in good standing. So the subcommittee looked at the reappointment process. They made recommendations to change it so that the process became a matter of just responding to an email saying that they would like to be reappointed again.
I think you said you worked on that committee. So I'd be interested in your thoughts on.
You were involved. I think there was some concern from CAC members about having to go through an application process every 2 years. Is one of the things I remember.
That's how I remember it as well.
Right.
They were asking for a streamlined process to reapply instead of completing a new application.
But maybe it's something as simple as, why do you want to stay on the CAC, right? And write a paragraph.
Mhm.
Or maybe identify a couple of accomplishments in your last 2-year term on the CAC, or things you specifically did.
What you've done and what you would
Like,
like,
so-
would you like to share
Not
with
a
the
full
board?
application, but those 2 questions, why would you like to stay, and how have you been most engaged in your last 2 years, so that the board could say, we love that you want to stay, if needed, would have an
Opportunity,
opportunity.
we just say, okay, the person indicate they want to stay on and they stay on and we just go, okay, and we.
Yeah, but so like a very light self-evaluation that then the board could inquire about if the board felt like they were seeing something that left them wanting more.
One of the other questions on here that I wasn't sure about, because I wasn't sure people could answer it if they haven't been involved with the CAC, but it would certainly work for a re-upping, would be, what would you like to see accomplished if appointed? And so that is tying in with what you said. And also on the Hayward one, that kind of gets more into the DEI, is they're asking broadly, briefly describe the personal qualifications you possess, which you believe will be an asset. And so that's after the experience and employment, but it's asking, you know, you can share your personal qualifications
Right.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me quick, like whenever you have the, somebody want to reapply. Um, so did you look at that there, uh, how many time they absent, like the percentage, the attendance?
We
This is
did,
very important, even the board members also, I don't care, I don't mind maybe the CAC only. So because how many meetings they attend per years? Some people might be attend 100%, some is 30%, 40%, and they reapply again. Then, so then what is the accomplish for 30% guys can do that?
mhm.
So I don't know, you guys has to look at that, then they reapply. Once you hire somebody, that's fine. But when they reapply again, so then have to be look at those kind of criteria also. If there somebody don't want to be attend the meeting, so why we need that seat always is empty there?
But I value your input, Elizabeth, because I think it again, it's like, what have you done to?
Yeah.
You're not just warming a seat, you are
Yeah,
actually
whatever.
contributing, right? And you've done, and you feel good about this, and it's something you want to elevate to the board to
Mhm.
share, right? And we all want to kind of know, you know, what is the CAC accomplishing, what have they done? And we, you know, put somebody on there and board it, like, okay. Now, you know, tell us, give us, you know, give us something to give you accolades about.
And then just to riff off of that, like maybe the reappointment process is not simply, hello, board, these members were expiring and they have said they would like to reappoint, so please reappoint. But we actually come back to the ABC to say, we have 4 members up for reappointment. Here they are, here's their answers to the 3 questions we've asked them. They have an opportunity to come and engage with the ABC at that lens. Sorry, I'm
Okay.
getting really wild hair ideas here that Caroline's not loving. I can. Because
I see where you're going.
that information, I think so, maybe it's put a pin in it, that's a separate process that needs better improvements, but it sounds like there's a lot of good ideas here.
Right, and only because we can't have that super equitable across the board because a district representative, I don't want to say,
That's between
Like-
them and their district appointed board
Mhm.
member, or their board member who appointed them.
right.
If
So-
the board member don't.
Sorry,
know
I was
their-
referring to at large.
No, if the board member don't know their attendance, how they knows that they, the, whatever the representative, they are doing the best job or not? Because
Mhm.
we have to be know that, how many times they attend the meeting or how many times they don't.
And I know we didn't really like, talk about that, or I didn't talk about that in the report, but, I do capture attendance for CAC, and at one point in time, we did have an administrative process where, I sent the attendance to, who was it? The chair, the vice chair of the board and the CAC. I think quarterly, which is something that we can, certainly revisit again.
I think it's in the CAC bylaws because I had to get involved with that when I was the chair of the CAC.
Mhm.
And there's something about if you miss more than one, I was gonna say, meeting, then I think there was a conversation that was held between the chair and the member
The
to see
person,
what was
mhm.
going on.
Right.
So I think that process is still there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, through the chair, Vicky, that is also part of that subcommittee that you worked on. I think that's where that got updated.
Okay,
Where it was written into the handbook that the chair or vice chair would have a conversation with the committee member that missed. a meeting
and we
without-
did do that. I mean,
Exactly right.
yeah.
Yeah, it was, you know, missed without being excused or, you know, notified. Things
Notified.
come up in folks'
Mhm.
life, right? And when the committee used to meet 12 times a year or 11, because I don't think they met in December before, but now it's half of that. So one meeting is significant.
mhm.
Yeah.
So that process is there.
Mhm.
I was also just looking at this application again and wondered if there's something that we might do, because they list, indicate your areas of interest, and they list different parks, but because we have general knowledge and involvement in the priority interest areas. Agriculture, business, civic organizations, you know, that whole list. We could have little check boxes too, you know, please indicate your areas of interest for the CAC. And then that could stimulate a conversation.
Outside of agriculture or trails, right? Yeah, 'cause we're looking for.
Yeah,
broader
and
areas.
so we could have those and add the ones that James Eggers was talking about from the Sierra Club. And, you know, if somebody checks off every single one of them, then that might be something to, you know, ask
Right.
about
Right.
too.
So might be you can just, you can say, like the agriculture or trail.
Mhm.
So just make some kind of list there.
Mhm.
So then they can mark that one, how many years this one or how many years. I think just make some kind of list there.
Okay.
So in that way, you know that well, what area they have the
Where they could rank, you could.
rank,
You could
they can
them,
rank
them,
that. That's
right?
it.
List
I
your-
was,
list your-
I was thinking that
Yeah, we're
English
good.
is my third language. That's why sometime or I'm old and forget very
Right,
easily
what's
things.
your top 5 interests or something like
Yeah.
that, or
Ranking that.
rank your interests?
Yeah.
Which would give us a lot of good information too.
Mhm, mhm.
Then you can kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah, and then we could have a further conversation if,
Right, right.
you know,
Why did you pick this one or whatever? It does allow us for a broader. This is a good dialogue. I appreciate that you.
Good, I'm glad. Just to kind of reiterate what I'm hearing, so in the description, we might want to consider updating it so that it does have something that talks about conservation
Environment.
in the environment. Okay, so that's one thing. And then on the application, we want to include this areas of interest list. We want to include some more filtering type things that would kind of aid in the initial screening process and open up more dialogue for then the interview process.
Open-ended question.
Open-ended questions. Okay.
You get an understanding about the person a little bit.
Not yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or a one sentence on that. Sometimes the application have one sentence.
And then for the actual interview process, is there anything, any aids at that point that you would like staff to prepare in advance? Sheets to mark things up, to draw like notes, to do the tallies?
You are talking about the interview process?
Yes.
Just prepare some questions for the board, even if we have any interview, so we can ask the same question to all the candidates.
Were you looking like a kind of a I don't know, point system, right? Here's these categories and you could kind of.
Something that would help make it.
Some sort.
Let me ask you this then. What if I came up with maybe like 5 to 8 questions that could potentially be answered, and then it'll be up to the board to figure out which questions you want to ask, if you want to keep going, or maybe 1 or 3, like 1 or 2 questions is satisfactory, and then do some sort of matrix. I could even do like 10 questions.
No, like ABC has first screening, right? ABC
Correct.
have the first
Yes.
screening. I think maybe question is enough for us.
And then that.
Then we can look at that, who is the qualified person. So then we can rank that one.
That would be very open and transparent, yeah.
Yeah, on the same day, we cannot tell the candidate, so who is just going to be the board. So we can tell you guys can tell them, hey, this is the 2 persons going to in front of the board. Then board has maybe 5, 6 question also, like how many they can ask. Those is a little bit, the processes look like a little bit better than you can say it's a legal process. In other sense, I think.
It's a transparent process.
Transparent.
Transparent.
Yeah.
Transparent process.
Okay.
Right, so that the candidate has an idea of kind of what kind of questions would be asked, so they're prepared, and then if it does go from ABC to the full board, then they see kind of what the vetting process was, and so we're not all staring at each other going, what do I do?
Then we don't have hurt anybody's feeling on that time.
Well, you're making the process a little bit
Yeah,
more
that's
full
what I'm
body.
saying.
Right. Okay, great. So I think that I have what I need. And then, so I will work on retooling our position description, the application, and then formulating some interview questions. Our next ABC meeting is May 8th. And we do have the budget review scheduled, so I could either bring it at that point or maybe the next ABC meeting, depending on the amount of time that we think that we need for this item.
It'd be pretty straightforward if you've kind of got a good idea of what we.
Okay.
And see how long the budget item looks like it's gonna take.
Give us a time allotment so we can like do this on this. and
Okay.
Everyone.
Okay.
Actually, today we take more time because we know that we don't have the board meeting.
Yeah,
Otherwise, at 6:30, we have to be finished. that.
correct. And I appreciate all your thoughts and your feedback on this. I really want this to be a reflection of the board, what the board wants to see. And what you guys, because our CEC members are ambassadors for us, they're our
Right,
representatives,
right.
so.
That's kind of how I look at it, and I'm looking at it. Okay, if we're going out to pass a ballot measure, right, there are going to be ones interfacing, and so you want somebody that really has a full understanding of the agency. Has a good working relationship with the board, has good community connections, right? And so that's my lens that I'm looking through it, yeah.
That's why we need the well-educated, brand ambassadors.
Noted.
So I look forward to you bringing this back.
All right.
Great.
Great, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, there's no other items and no other speakers. No, okay, we are adjourned.